Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek, and recently I got in a little group of $20 gold pieces, which is something I don't normally see in quantity, especially I would say with this type of coin, and that's to say some of the earlier types. And so I just want to take a closer look at these a little bit, and we'll get a feel for overall grading and pricing on some of this stuff. This 1851, this is one of the first years of issue, and they made a couple million of them, so it is amongst the most affordable. Actually has some real nice luster to it still, and you'll see breaks in the luster and maybe just a little bit of sign of wear on the top of the hairline there. The reverse on these are always kind of misleading in my book because oftentimes the reverse will be nearly completely lustrous still when the obverse is not. So maybe it's just taken a quick page from the Morgan Dollar grading book, right? So AU55, a coin like this in the current market's about a $2,600 coin. These are coins that in uncirculated grades jump tremendously to where an MS60 is probably 5 grand, then an MS63 is probably like 20 grand or something like that. So they were really, really ridiculously hard to get in higher grade. Next up, we're going to go chronologically here today. So we got an 1852. And tell me if you think this one is much of any different from the 1851. And you'll find coins that are remarkably similar, where you have some little bit of breaks in the luster here on both sides of the coin. I actually think I like this 52 just a skosh better than the 51. Both of them were graded by PCGS AU55. An interesting pair, a little scuffy, but I do prefer this 52, which also has a similar price point and a similar mintage. Philadelphia Mint cranked out a couple million of each of those. The 1850s is a time period that no one seems to talk about in U.S. history. Oddly enough, historically, for someone who likes coins, you start to hear about certain time periods because you had the Civil War. You got hard time tokens, from the 1830s and 40s. And so there's certain time periods that you just kind of know about instinctively if you collect coins. And then there's other time periods where it's just there's not as much going on. This coin is a little bit tricky because this coin actually is a little bit nicer grade than the other two. And you can see really, really complete luster on the back. And then on the front, on the obverse, you have, it looks like a little bit of some breaks in luster to me. MS60, it's an interesting grade, and from a couple vantage points, just because, I thought maybe it would be called an AU58, but I didn't get them graded originally, by the way. 1861, what a neat year. I don't know what was happening in 1851 and 1852, but 1861, no doubt that's a really important historical year. Similar to those other coins from Philadelphia, you're talking about something with a high mintage, but also really hard to get uncirculated. This is a coin that is worth about $3,700 in the marketplace, and if it's a couple ticks higher, the price triples in value, right? So really hard to get nicer examples of those earlier Type 1 coins. Moving right along, we have our last Type 1, which also, you would talk about early coins. You've got this 1865. The first one that we get from our list from San Francisco. This coin is over 1 million made. San Francisco, when they started cranking out coins, because, they had so much gold, and a lot of the gold was getting shipped around to other places. Similar to those first two, you'll see really some breaks in the luster in different areas. Little bit of a PL feel to it, but not that far off in grade. Now they called this an AU50, and if you put it next to those two AU55s, I'd say they're really close. This is a coin that maybe this is more of a 53 when you compare it to the other ones. If you're just playing the comparison game, you might look at it that way. This is also a coin that's not a whole lot more than gold. It's still pretty expensive. It's still a $2,500 coin, but not super expensive compared to the current market for just generic gold coins. right? And so 1865, this is the penultimate year for the Type 1. 1866 is the last year. In 1866, they made both the Type 1 and the Type 2. I have only one Type 2 to show you, but it's a doozy. It is a doozy, and by grade, you know, this is actually also, I think, pretty similar to the last one that we looked at. The luster on the back is really strong. Really strong, and the reason this is the doozy, so you got really nice luster through there, is because this is from the Carson City Mint, which is all in all always top dog. You know, the Carson City Mint, some of the $5 and $10 gold pieces aren't tremendously expensive, I'll say. I don't know how else to put it, but the 20s are always really expensive. That, you know, if you get something that's not damaged or problem, they only made 115,000 of these. And then you have the lore of the Carson City. You have, you know, the question of what the survival rate was. And so that's a coin that this coin is about $6,000 in today's current market. And you know, the Carson Cities, they trade expensive, they trade high, they trade fast, and the market's a little bit more volatile than some of the other areas. Now, the Carson City Mints you can buy in both the Type 2 and Type 3. So this is the Type 2. The Type 3 doesn't say 20D, it says $20. The difference between the Type 1 and the Type 2, of course, is you add the "In God We Trust" on the back. So, and you know, there's some other minor design changes. But overall, that's a winning. All right, 1880. You know, it's interesting because some of these different dates, they get a little bit tricky as far as the overall price point goes. There are some of them that you'd expect to be not too expensive, and they end up being a little bit more pricey than you would think. I'd put the 1880S on that list. Here we moved into the Type 3 variety. You have a mintage of under 1 million pieces, and this coin's an MS60, and it's a coin that's really hard to find in higher grades. So, like, for example, in a 63, it's a $15,000 to $20,000 coin, depending on how the auctions go. Right, and this coin has really full luster, but a lot of bag marks, very baggy coin. Right, so kind of similar-ish. We've got two MS60s to compare. You know, and they're a little bit different. I think the 80S is a little bit more lustrous than this 61. You know, but the reverse of the coin is pretty comparable on the two. And so that 80S is a tricky coin. So in this grade, it's about $2,800 in today's market. Last but not least, let's jump ahead to a coin that's got some eye appeal to it and common date. So for anyone who's looking to put together a date set, not a date set, just a type set, and all you want is a real nice example of a $20 gold piece, the 1904 is the date for you. I mean, 1904s, we see them in bulk all the time. It is a coin that they come fairly nice from time to time. This coin especially has really great eye appeal and luster. You know, pretty much contact free on the back side here. You have some of those contact marks and whatnot on the face and in the front. But imagine, you know, gold is softer than silver and heavier. So you think about how Morgan dollars were shipped in bags, and so were these $20 gold pieces. And just imagine what it looked like when they were jumping around in those bags, getting all knocked together. And a couple contact marks there on the outside. But overall, a real clean example of one of the $20 gold pieces. So this coin in this market is about a $2,500 coin currently in MS64. And of course, if you want a higher grade, then you know, good for you. You've got deep pockets. But they're out there. You can find this date in MS65, and they jump quite a bit there. I think they're over the 3,000 mark on the 65s in this market, and it's always changing. So anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. I've been the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.